Today we're going to be doing a brake flush on the R1200 RS. I've already got it set up so that there's my bottle. It's an old mustard bottle, and I'm going to be using that to catch the brake fluid. And here is the right front speed bleeder connection, and the wrench is already ready to go, and I've already taped off here put some rag around and so on over the reservoir. So I'm going to take that off. I've got 3 screws taken off already, and I'm going to take off the 4th screw, and then I'm going to crack that open, quarter turn, and then start pumping the fluid out. I've got my GS911 hooked up here, hooked up to the computer, and it's ready to go, and the instructions are there. It says the service function will bleed the brake system according to the following steps. Follow the mechanical bleeding process, which is what I'm going to do with the speed bleeders, according to repair instructions. Tighten the bleed screw, and then you do a flush. Once you've got that done, you got to perform another bleeding process according to the repair instructions. Tighten the bleed screw, and then you do another flush again, and then perform a 3rd bleeding process. You've got to do that with each one of the 3 calipers. So let's start. Actually, ooh, you see that? I just moved that whole thing across across the tank without thinking about it, but luckily nothing dripped. Anyway, the brake fluid looks pretty good in there actually. It's got a little scum on the cover on the top, but anyway, we're going to be flushing the brakes, so all of this is going to go down, and as it goes down we have to make sure that it does not go past the drain hole. But the drain hole in this particular case is at the bottom, so that's pretty good. So don't let that get dry, and keep topping up with this brake fluid here. I've got some genuine BMW brake fluid, so that's good. So I'll keep that there. I think I'm going to get some newspaper, put it here just in case, because this moving back and forth here could ask for trouble. Now I'm going to crack this a quarter turn, so turn it down to there. Move it down to there, and now I should be able to pump the brakes and get fluid to come out. And there you go. There's fluid coming out quite nicely, going into my little mustard bottle, and I don't see a lot of bubbles, but I'm keeping an eye up here to make sure that I don't go down too far, and then I'm going to fill that up with some fresh fluid. Some people suck out the reservoir first, and then they do this to save on time, I guess, and to save on brake fluid. But it takes quite a few oops. So another tip is that when you get down close to the bottom, when you're pumping, it can kind of burp the brake fluid. So you got to be careful there. Okay. Now it's down to the bottom. I'm going to pour in some brake fluid carefully and continue. And you can see it burps some bubbles there. Okay. It's still coming out, and that's good. So I'm going to tighten this up now. Tighten that up and do my first ABS flush. So that's back to where it was. I've got some fluid in there, and I'm going to do the ABS flush now on the GS911. So here we go. We're going to start the flush, and the flush will require me to at least 3 times squeeze and hold the brake lever, and you're going to see that running while I do that. Squeeze and hold the brake lever for a couple of seconds. Beginning to flush now. Okay, that's done. Now I have to go and bleed the brakes again, same operation as before, and then I'll resume with continuing flush 2. So after the third brake bleed is done, we pull this off. Now it's full of brake fluid, so I've got to kind of like keep a rag here, and this is brake fluid after all, and pull this off. My bottle is falling over. Okay, pull this off of here and let it run down. Okay, so I got a little bit on the rag, but that's okay. And then I just put my cap back on like that. Make sure it's all the way on, and I'm ready to bleed the left side. And this is what the brake fluid looks like. Looks like olive oil. The left side is going to be the same as the as for the right, so I'm probably not going to record this now. Just pull off the cap, the dust cap here, connect up my drain bottle, and repeat the same process with 2 flushes from the ABS pump, and then 3 bleeds. It's going to use up quite a bit of brake fluid, so my recommendation is to keep a fresh bottle of brake fluid handy. So I'm going to go do this left front, and then I'll resume the video with the rear. So I've already got this protected, so just got to unscrew this one and then remove this little insert here, and there we have our brake fluid. And we're going to do the same process again, flushing up, but it looks like I've got to put a little bit of brake fluid in there to get this thing started, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Alright, here again we go crack. This is an M10 wrench. We crack this, quarter turn. That's a quarter turn there, and I'm going to go around and pump the brakes. I can't see what I'm doing this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. Let me check. Yeah, stuff is coming out. Again, keeping an eye on the hole at the bottom. I've got it all the way down. Now I'm going to top this up before I forget, and then I'm going to do my first flushing. So that's topped up. I come back over here and I close this off. Then I go do the flush, just like I showed in the first time around, so I'm not going to show that right now. That's flush 1 done. Hardly any fluid went down from the master cylinder, from the rear brake reservoir. So I'm going to crack this open again and do my bleed number 2. I'm going to pump this about 15 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And it takes about 15 times for the front as well as for the rear. So I'm topping this back up now because the fluid did go down. Good. Now I've got to close this off, and do another flush of the with the 911. Okay, switch the ignition off, then switch it back on, and that tells the GS911 that I'm done. Now I'm going to turn this back off. That was flush number 2, so I'm done with the GS911, so I'm going to turn the bike off, and then I'm going to do my last flushing. So I've got to open this again, quarter turn, flush it one more time. 15 pumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. Good. So I come and I close this off, and then I top up the reservoir again, and I'm done. This is done, so I can pull this off, and that's essentially how you bleed or flush your brakes and flush the ABS system on the RS. Thanks for watching.